All right, welcome into our countdown to kickoff special here from the KCEN, the brand new KCEN Streaming Center.
Oh, yeah.
Guys, I'm so excited to be here today. My name's Ethan Love, joined with Sydney Wicker and Madison Palumbo. Guys, let's just get right in. How cool
my
is this
gosh.
streaming center?
It's so cool.
So
like,
cool.
We've been talking about it all week. Like,
Mhm.
it just feels cool to be in here.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm running through the tunnel right now with like a football player. Like, it just feels so cool and it looks so cool, and it's just another way that we can connect with our viewers
Mhm.
right at home in an easy way. And it's just like people like sit back and relax and talk about sports, and we
Yeah.
get to do that in here, which is so fun.
Yes, and again, this is our first live broadcast from the streaming center. This is
Yeah.
brand new, so bear with us if there are any technical issues.
We're doing our best.
Yes, we are doing our absolute best here, and of course this wouldn't be possible without our great engineers. So again, thank you to them and everything. And just we have a lot of big plans in here for the future, which
Oh,
we'll get
yeah.
into at the end of this broadcast. But let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's jump right in to high school football, guys. Games start next week, which is huge.
Crazy.
But
Literally next Friday.
yeah.
Well, some teams Thursday.
Thursday,
Like
yeah.
next week.
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
crazy.
And I just want to start out with the summer because obviously there's no football going on, but
Mm-hmm.
you both did a great job with the series Coach's Corner, Next
you.
Man Up. So I just kind of want to ask you guys about how that went and everything. Sydney?
So awesome. Like, we were so lucky to have so many great coaches in our area, and we really got to see that on full display. Doing the Coach's Corner Next Man Up series, it really just started out as an idea to get to know these guys at a different level, and to help the fans connect with them as well, because some of these people didn't know where these head coaches had come from. They just knew that these were the guys that were going to be leading their kids or their grandkids on the field. So this just gave us an opportunity to get to know them more than head coaches and to find out who they really are. I'm really big on finding out who you are, not just what you do. Like, there's so much more to that extra layer there. And so we have so many awesome coaches in this area. We found that out every single week that we did this. Like, everyone was so good.
Yeah.
Every time we came back from one, we were like, oh my gosh, he was my favorite. Like, that was the best interview. Like, it was so hard to like compare these guys. They were just all so great.
Going off of what Sydney said, I mean, it was a perfect opportunity to really get to know these coaches.
Yeah.
Just beneath their coaching position, as people. And it was a great experience to really get to know the area and get to know the different schools around
This was
here.
your first taste of Texas football a little
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, I didn't know too much going into it. Like, I knew Texas football was such a big deal, but it really gave me an idea of like who these 11 new coaches are. And what Sydney said, it was so hard to like pick your favorite coach. Each week we would literally be like, oh, that was great, and then we'd go into the next one and be like, but that was also great. And they were
Yeah.
all different in their own way, so it really gave us an opportunity to get to know these coaches really just as
Absolutely.
humans. And I'm so excited for what they're going to do this upcoming season.
Yeah, and
We
just
want
kind of
them all to go with perfect
Yeah,
season.
yes,
Every one of them
yes.
deserves a state championship.
Yeah.
Like, we love them all.
Yeah, and kind of bouncing off that excitement, I kind of want
Yeah.
to get into these new Central Texas coaches and which one that we are very excited to see. I'll start here with Kevin Brown over at Robinson. Sydney, I went with you on this Coach's Corner interview, and Coach Kevin Brown knocked my socks off. I mean,
me too.
this guy is a true professional. He's coming from college coaching experience, which I think is huge, bringing that to Central Texas. He was the offensive coordinator at UTSA, and the Rockets, they had a good team last season, 8-3. So
Yeah.
there's a good foundation there to build off of for him. So I think it was a great, attractive job for him. And I'm very excited to see what he can do. And from our interview, I definitely got the vibe that he wants to embrace that Rockets never quit mentality, which is
Never
huge.
quit. Absolutely. We see that on full display at every sporting event for Robinson. Like, softball totally embraced and embodied rock or quit, especially like in the playoffs. There were so many times where they'd be down in a game and they'd come back late to rally and then eventually go on to win the state championship, which is what it's all about. And that's when Coach Brown got to see that for the first time. It was going out softball games and you're like, oh my gosh, like, these kids have so much fight in them, and it serves him in the best way possible. So he's such a great and somebody who cares about his players so much. We don't talk about mental health in sports nearly enough, and he's somebody who really wants to make an impact on kids' lives off field. He takes that personally. He read the book The Anxious Generation this summer. His whole office stacked with books. He loves to read. Like, that was the first thing he showed us was his books, and he's got helmets and a couple footballs up there, but it's mostly books. And he's just a guy who really wants to make an impact and make a difference. And so he's so special. He definitely defines the who we were talking about, like who he is off the field, and that was so great to see. Yeah. But yeah, just a truly guy on and off.
Yeah, and I think he fits that kind of small town vibe, kind of like another one of these coaches that Madison wanted to highlight, and that's Coach Case Carr at Rogers. Madison, can you tell us what you're excited to see from him this season?
Yeah, I mean, he comes originally from a small town in the panhandle of Texas, and he then made a pit stop at Round Rock, a much larger school, but he really wanted that small town Texas feel back. So he came to Rogers. A lot of his mentors throughout the coaching process actually coached at Rogers, so it was kind of a full circle moment for him to now get this job. And not only is he the head coach, but he's also the athletic director at Rogers, so he's kind of having that dual role. He's not only going to focus on the football team, but he's also going to focus on all sports at Rogers and really turn them around. One thing that really stuck with me was he was a walk-on linebacker at Abilene Christian University, and he kind of tells his kids, like, and players, like, hey, you don't have to be the best player on the team. You don't have to put up all these numbers. You know, you really could put yourself to...
It's about the heart.
Yeah, you really, whatever goals you have, you could achieve them, and you don't have to be the best player from the jump. So I just really loved that mentality. He's looking to really turn things around at Rogers. They didn't have the best season last year, but he has high expectations moving into this season, especially having that coaching experience from a larger school at Round Rock. He was the defensive coordinator. That's only going to transition into a much smaller school. I just really loved his overall message of it doesn't matter how good you are. If you have a goal and you have a dream, you can succeed at. So.
And that's the type of mentality that we need.
Yeah. That walk-on chip never goes away either.
No. Never,
I love that about guys like that. Plus, I know you mentioned his mentors all recommended Rogers. Like, Rogers is a place he's kind of like always known about. He hasn't spent any time here, but he's always known about it, which I think speaks volumes to the tradition of Rogers and their program as a whole.
He truly just loves being there too at Rogers, just like that small town community, getting to know everyone on a personal level. That's all you could really ask for.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Sydney, I'm looking at your coaches here. I know I asked for one, but you you doubled it. You said I want to do one more.
Yeah,
so I see you got two guys here. Let's start out with Charles Foster.
Which I just want to say it's so hard to pick just any of them in general because they were also great. But yeah, Coach Foster over at University, his energy is so infectious. We saw that on play for the very first time before he was even the head coach, and he hosted it was basically a pep rally, but it was their signing. He had the spotlight on the kids. They're walking down. They've got hype music. It was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And I literally went up to him and I thanked him. I was like, I love covering signings because I love the purpose of them and what they mean. But something so cool about the way that you did this, like, it wasn't redundant for me today. It was something new and refreshing, and those kids felt so cool, and I felt so cool getting to be there, which was awesome. So, yeah, Coach Foster comes in, with a mindset that's ready to win. He brings in so much energy and such a connection for building the community. He really emphasized bringing Waco and University together. Like, those two rivals should join together, and that's something he really made clear. So super excited for him. His offense is so good. I know he's a defensive guy.
Yeah, he's a defensive guy though.
And don't get it wrong, he still has a hard time rooting for the offense sometimes. He told me that's the hardest adjusting a head coach is like, oh wait, maybe we shouldn't be sacking our own quarterback. Like, we gotta root for the offense here.
Hey, we kind of need him going on in the season.
Let's leave Savoy Nichols alone. But having guys like London Smith, a Baylor commit, Savoy Nichols, who's going into his junior season as a quarterback, who already has a lot of good looks and offers from other programs, like, they're gonna be so talented this year. And I know it's hard for Coach to kind of open his eyes up to the offense, but gosh, they're going to be so good.
There's so much to root for.
Your other guy, Sydney, is the complete opposite. Not a defensive guy. He is an offensive guy. Former quarterback, former college quarterback too, Chad President.
Oh, yeah. Chad President comes into Temple. ready to win. He has so much pride for that program as well. You know, he wore the Temple uniform. He knows what it means to be a Temple Wildcat. He's a third-generation Temple ISD product, so he literally is a Wildcat through and through. His blood bleeds blue. That's hard to say 3 times fast. And he's coming in with a win-the-day mindset. Everything starts in practice, and it's the small steps that make things so big for them. So it's one thing at a time, truly, for them. But, you know, he is a quarterback guy, like we mentioned, and his quarterback this year is Champ Mayo, who goes into his senior year, which, by the way, Champ, what a better name for a starting quarterback. He's a champion at heart. He wants to win. So it's going to be awesome. And she got Jamarion Carlton, the Baylor commit, one of the highest recruits right out of high school going to Baylor from Temple. So that's so awesome. But yeah, Chad President is just, he's a winner, and he wants to win, and you know how bad he wants to be back out there. He literally runs at practice with the guys. Like, when they're going to the next drill, he's running with them. Like, I'm like, Coach, go put the pads on right now. Like, we love it.
Yeah, and so how is that duo of President and Champ? I mean, that has a lot of aura.
Oh
so,
my gosh,
I mean,
right?
How can
like,
you not be excited
so cool.
about that duo? Guys, kind of looking bigger picture here. Let's take that back from the coaches. Let's look at programs that we're excited to see overall. And I want to start at Midway with Joe Gillespie's squad. And this is a coach that was in the national championship just a few years ago, coaching up that TCU defense. I know they didn't have a great performance that game, but his defenses have showed at the D1 level that they can definitely play with anyone. And the fact that he's been able to take Midway, who is good all around at sports, and just kind of lead them to a 7-4 season. Their defenses only gave up 17.36 points per game, which I think is solid, but definitely there's something to build off of there. And with how consistent Midway is in all the other sports, I want to see them kind of take that jump, because I think that they can be that type of team that can jump to a 9-2 or maybe even a double-digit win season if they need to be.
I mean, the losses that they had last year, a lot of those were really close losses. Harker Heights is a really good program. Harker Heights has kind of historically led this district. Like, they're 3-time district champions. Like, and Coach Hull knows what it takes to win, and he always has winners. They 36 guys last season due to graduation. They're already reloading. Like, they constantly reload when you're. So I think for Midway to really like turn the corner, it's going to be trying to get as many of those district wins as possible. They lost a game to Cove that they probably shouldn't have, but Cove is also a team that's on the up and up. They're buying in. Those guys are ready to win, and if you catch them on the wrong deck, you're going to get caught up big time. So yeah, I'm really see what Midway can do too. A lot of those guys ready to step into another year of just like, you know, Coach Gillespie's system, like you said, and just really embody the Panthers way.
I'd love to see the Panthers win, because all other sports have done so well. Softball, baseball, the run. They really all you heard about was Midway. Like, you would love now for them to like take that momentum and implement it into football and see it succeed. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, and Madison, I know you want to stay in Waco for your pick. You're going over to Waco High. I know we highlighted University a little bit, but let's give the Lions some love, Madison.
Yeah, that was my first coach's corner. I sat down with Coach M, and he's now the head football coach at Waco High. And there was just something about him. He had such a fiery passion for this program. And Waco had a long history of being a really solid and stellar program. He told me that he actually wants to make Waco great again, because there have been so many veterans and players that have gone on to the next level, whether it was college or it was the NFL. And he brought all of the veterans back in this summer. I mean, how many NFL players visited the school and were talking to the kids, and they really just looked up to him. Such a great thing to see. You know, they loved it. They were inspired. So he really just wants to turn the program around, He wants to succeed. You know, they only had a couple wins last year. What was it, 2 or 3 wins?
Yeah.
He wants to just build on that, and he's very determined, and he made that very clear. He really got me just, like, so excited. And I'm excited for Coach Ezram. I think they have a lot of potential. I think they'll have a better season than a lot of people expecting. And one thing that also stuck out to me was the rivalry between University. We talked a little bit about Coach Foster. The rivalry in Waco and University, you know, when they're playing each other, it's, we're going to, you know, they don't like each other.
The rivalry is on that week.
Yes. But when they're not playing each other, they're just rooting for each other because they want to just, like, bring the community together, bring Waco together. So it's just been awesome to see those two coaches, you know, step into these new roles and support each other, but also be rivals at the end of the day.
That's what it's all about. Like, the game only means so much. Like, you want to support each other on and off the field, and these coaches really, you know, embrace that. I actually joked with both of them, and I was like, you know, when I was in Mississippi, I got to cover Ole Miss and Mississippi State while Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin were both there, and I was like, the two of them walked into a heated rivalry between State and Ole Miss. Those two fan bases hate each other, but there was something about the head coaches. They both, like, had this, like, friendship and, like, respect for each other that we hadn't seen before. So I told Coach Foster and Coach Ezram, I was like, you guys kind of are giving Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin energy over here. Like, I like how you're embracing rivalry and what it means, but also supporting each other when you don't each other, which is super special.
Yeah, and Sydney, kind of just going off of that, I see here on our Google Doc that you wrote down all of them.
That's because
So
anybody who's watching, I will
Yeah.
not let their teams down because I refuse.
Yeah, hey, we're not limited by time here, so go ahead. I mean, I want to hear from you, Sydney. What do you got for us?
Central Texas really has some of the best football, and I think that's just so obvious. We're really getting to see that. I literally list off every single team in our area. Whitney is a program that I really like what they're doing over there. I think Coach Haynes has his hand on something really special, and now they're just really hoping to continue to build off of what they started, making playoffs, making historic runs that they haven't done in a really long time. And they know what it takes to do it now that they started it last year. So just continuing to build on that. Lake Belton's kind of a sneaky team, I think. The Broncos are just like, so I got to talk to Coach Brian Cope last week, and, you know, he was just, the way he was talking about his guys, they're just on a man, and you can feel that. You can see that from them at practice. Harker Heights, I will never bet against Coach Humble, ever. Not that we bet over
The
here,
nights are fun.
but the nights are so fun, and they're so lethal. His son, Hudson Humble, goes into another year under the starting quarterback, going into his junior season, and, you know, it's funny because, you know, they're a father-son duo. You never feel that way from the two of them, you know, and I joke with Coach all the time. He literally says, you know, we leave the X's and O's at the field. When we're at the family dinner table, it's just family time. So they don't talk about football unless they're on the field or at practice together. But they have a way to reload every single season. Doesn't matter how many athletes they've lost, they'll come back and they'll do it again. Mart, if you know Mart, you know they win. Like, it's just that simple. Like, add another trophy to the case. It's insane how many they have over there. And I think bringing Chris Lancaster from Robinson over to Mart, that was such a big move for them. Chris Lancaster's a winner, and, you know, during my Coach Corner interview with him, I asked him, like, what kind of pressure he feels walking by that trophy every day, and he's like, you know, I feel a lot of pressure, and people joke all the time, they're willing to put up for sale signs in front of my house if we lose week 1. Like, that's what it means in Mart. And he knows that. He was like, you don't even have to buy the signs. I'll put them out myself. Like, he's that committed. He knows that. And Mart's just one of those programs that wants to get back to the top. And had really bad seasons, I would say. They just haven't been going to the state championship. So they're ready to get back and make those deep runs in the playoffs. And I think Coach Lancaster's the perfect guy to help lead that. Salado, the Eagles, they had a historic run last season, making it to the second round of the playoffs, something they hadn't done in a really long time. None of these guys are satisfied with that. And they've got so many good senior leaders on their team this year, so they're going to be good, and I'm excited for them. La Vega, the team that made it to the state championship last year, lost there, unfortunately. Yeah, me and Ethan got to see it. Bryson Rowland, a guy who graduated now at Artec, going to miss seeing him out on the field, but they've returned so many good guys. They've got Jabbar Thornton, a great wide receiver who's committed to Oklahoma State, and then they've got Courtney Parr, who was a sophomore last year, goes into his junior season this year, really locked and loaded, and his teammates all joke around with Patrick Mahomes. Like, he's just got that professional style, and he's a big guy. Like, he's a tall guy. He's really built for being, like, he's got the body of, like, a college quarterback already building right now, which is so huge. So excited to see what he does. And then, of course, the game I have circled on calendar.
Yep.
One of the last ones of the season. It
Guys,
ended
she
last
talks about
year.
this one all the time.
I
This,
can't
this
help
is
it.
real.
Clear.
This is real.
So I like. If
She's like,
that's
it's
not our
starred.
game of the week, something terribly has happened throughout the season. Like, it's just so good. But Gatesville versus Connolly, I'm so for both of those teams. Their district is so hard to compete in, but when it comes to Connolly, they go into this year with their quarterback and wide receiver and cornerback or DB. I can't remember exactly what he plays. He does it all, if you can't tell. Jensen, oh my gosh, his nickname is Jam because that's literally what he does, jam the ball anywhere you can think of. Like, he'll get it done. And then Gatesville, they're just a blue-collar program that doesn't know how to quit. They always find to win. They go in with their new head coach, Jose Aguirre. But last year, as you can see, Connolly went into that game dominating the first half. Then comes Gatesville in the fourth quarter, ready to sting, and that's exactly what they do. They come back, I think it was either 21 or 28 points in the fourth quarter, comes back all the way to win this thing. It came to like a blocked field goal attempt, and it was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? I couldn't believe it. So the program's so fun. You know you're going to get your best with both of them, and I just think with all the talent Connolly has, all of their freshmen who started 4 years ago, they went 10-0 when they started their career with the cadets, and then these guys are now seniors. And so they know what it takes to win. From that freshman season, they've been waiting for this opportunity to step up as leaders and turn the page, and they're so motivated and ready to do this. So I can't wait.
There's so much to be excited
Oh,
for. I
there's
can't.
so
We can talk
much.
about it literally all day.
I was going to say, Sydney, now I'm ready. I know I'm
should
ready
be
for the whole
ready.
season, and I want to go to Gatesville Connolly no matter what now.
Okay, we'll
have
make
to.
that happen.
I didn't
Yes.
even go last year, and I feel like I was there. So
Yeah.
Well,
There's
I'm
just-
doing my job, living the game. Good for you guys.
Yes.
Then.
Yes, but we're gonna
It's
go
so
ahead and
good.
transition now
Yeah.
from high school football to college football. We're gonna stay in Waco too, where Connolly is, and we're gonna talk about the Baylor Bears after this quick break. Stick with us on Countdown to Kickoff.
New chaps, familiar pressure, and one shot to lead.
11 Central Texas football programs, each with a new head coach for the 2025 season.
Every week is a rival.
From story rivalries to fresh starts.
When you play Temple, you're going to get the best shot you've ever gotten.
Coach's Corner Next Man Up takes you inside the journey of Central Texas's new head coaches.
Coach's Corner, Next Man Up, now on KCEN 6+.
All right, we are back here on Countdown to Kickoff.
Welcome.
Yeah, let's get right into Baylor football, making our transition into the college football scene. And Baylor, they have no freebies at the beginning. They play Auburn and SMU back-to-back, that SEC opponent to start out the year. is going to be super important. But I want to ask you both how important that's going to be. Sydney?
I mean, Sawyer Robertson said it best at 12 Media Days. He literally said that game's going to set the standard for our season. And I think that couldn't be more accurate. Like, that week 1 game is so important. You're looking at an Auburn team that has had so many question marks. They were able to win big games last year against Texas A&M and really turn a corner down the stretch, but it's still missing so many pieces. They've been having a quarterback battle in fall camp, haven't really loved what they've seen. They've threatened to throw 3 quarterbacks in this week 1 game against Baylor. You know, they're a program that's always got a historic running back room. Like, they know how to run the ball. You look at guys like Jarquez Hunter, who left from last season. Like, just really, really good guys. And then, of course, in wide receiver, so many talented guys that literally will be in the NFL one day. Cam Coleman, who I think was a freshman last year, goes into a sophomore season this year. Gosh, he's so good. He scares me so much. Like, he is just such a playmaker. But Baylor has so many weapons too, and that's what's going to make this game so good. It's at Baylor. It's, you know, a night game. They're going to have a drone show. This team's motivated to play. They hated the way that LSU game went last year. They've been carrying that bitter feeling with them for so many weeks now, and now it's time to flip the script and show them that, hey, we can live up to the hype. We can live up to the expectations. Like, we're here for this season, and we're here to prove everybody something.
You said it best, Sydney. I mean, starting off with Auburn is not going to be easy, and it's truly going to tell them where they're at. You're starting off your season with an SEC opponent. A win could give them a lot of momentum going into, we talked about those first 4 games in the season. Like, that's the toughest part of their schedule. So if they pick up this win against an SEC team, that'll give them so much momentum. And if, unfortunately, they come out with a loss, I mean, they're only going to know, okay, this worked and this did not work. So now we know what to do moving forward, because they don't have easy competition after that Auburn game. Something that they have had this season that they haven't in the past that has truly stuck out to me, I don't know, I'm sure you've noticed, but they have so much depth in all of their positions. Like, no position truly has to worry. Everyone has
I would
tons
say
of
maybe a little bit on defense, but offensively, no worries.
No worries on offense. I mean, 2 positions that stuck out to me in particular. I mean, obviously the quarterbacks. You're always fighting for that starting position. But the running backs and the wide receivers, they have tons and tons of options. You know, the 1-2 punch last year in the running back room, you had Bryson Washington, and then you had Dawson Pendergrass. They were a great duo. Unfortunately, Pendergrass went down in fall camp with a season-ending injury, so we won't be seeing him this season. But, you know, we still do have Bryson Washington. And we have tons of other running backs that could step up, and a lot of those running backs are actually on the younger side. So they're probably going to be playing a lot earlier than they expected. Another position being the wide receivers. I mean, we have 5 solid wide receivers that could start, which is crazy. And Coach Aranda knows it, and Sawyer Robertson knows it. The whole team knows it, and they made it very clear in all the media availabilities that you do not have to worry, because all we have is depth.
This is the best it's been. Yeah, we have to be one of the strongest in the conference.
Is how Coach Aranda feels about his wide receiver room. From Michael Trigg, Ashton Hawkins, Cole Wilson, and Josh Cameron. But there's one that's been catching his eye the most.
Lewis is one of our top guys, if not the. You know, I think his ability to win one-on-one routes and his ability to make really key blocks and to make plays when they matter. He's got dog in him. He's strong and explosive, and probably, you know, there's a bunch of tough matchups.
A lot of depth and feeling comfortable is something the Bears are bringing to the table this season that could separate them from the rest.
Yeah, we have the most just playmakers, and so we've got guys that can win one-on-ones, and so it's nice to be able to have that. I think we can put 5 guys up on the line and feel confident that we can win one of those 5 of those one-on-ones. And so that in the past has been something we've had to, maybe we got to stunt, maybe we got blitz. We can rush a little bit more, give the guy a single rush or single block, we can rush that.
When you think of Baylor RBs, you think of Bryson Washington and Dawson Pendergrass
as the 1-2 punch. But with Pendergrass's season-ending injury, younger RBs are getting a chance a bit earlier than expected.
If they're going to step up, they have to. And really all facets of the game as far as running physically, making the right reads, pass protection, all the stuff.
Aside from having depth in numbers, there's more in-depth mentality.
Just gotten more like in-depth conversations, whereas last year was just kind of like, okay, how do we move the ball? How do we get points on the board? Now it's like, okay, when we get this look, what checks are we going to get into?
The message in Waco is clear. This year's Bears expect to be a tough matchup for anyone, and they have the talent to prove it.
Well, Madison, that sure got me hyped for some Baylor football.
As it should, Ethan.
I'm excited.
Yeah, okay. We're going to get into some record predictions now after we've kind of had a good look at everything. And look, I'm going to go ahead and say a realistic 7-5 is my prediction for the Baylor Bears. And this is at no fault of their own. I just think that
it's just the fault that you're a TCU grad.
Okay, look. Okay, so we're getting my biases out of the way immediately. I am a TCU grad, but I can look at Baylor and say that they are objectively a good team. They are a good football team.
Should we give them a round of applause for that?
Yes, that's hard. That's really hard for me, guys. That's really hard for me, guys. But starting out with Auburn and SMU, I think are going to be two really tough games, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's not like they have a ton of cupcake games in there. I think they're going to also drop the game to Arizona State, Kansas State. And look, again, with the bias, I do think that they're going to lose to TCU. And that is because this rivalry is so weird. When TCU went to the national championship, Baylor was this close, knocking them off. And Baylor wasn't really that great that year. And the year before that, when Baylor went to the Big 12 championship, TCU beat them in Fort Worth. So it seems like whatever team is better, and the mid team that year in this rivalry kind of rises to the occasion in a way. And I'm going to say, I'll say it, TCU is the mid team this year. And Baylor looks a lot better on paper. And I'll say that. I can admit that. And so I think that they're just going to rise to the occasion like these games always have. And that's just college football. So I think 7-5 is realistic. Madison?
I agree. I have them going 8-4. I'm honestly not really sure. I feel like this season's either going to be really good or really bad. We're either going to shock people or we're going to be disappointed. And I hate to say that, but I want them so bad to come out with a win against Auburn. I think that will truly set the tone for the season. You know, you'll get a dub against an SEC opponent. I mean, what more could you ask for? But it's true. Those first 4 games are the hardest. It's the hardest stretch of the schedule throughout the entire season. So for the losses, I think SMU is going to be a really close game, but I think that's going to be a loss. Arizona State, unfortunately, I think is going to be a loss. Oklahoma State is a toss-up in my opinion. I think it's going to be another close game, but I have it being a loss. But I disagree with Ethan. I think they're going to beat TCU. I know that's a rival game for Baylor. Anytime Baylor plays TCU in any sport, it's always a close game.
Always close.
It just means more.
It does.
It means more, guys.
But
I
I
don't know
do
about that.
think the stretch towards from TCU to Houston, I think those are going to be a lot of dubs.
Yeah,
It's
their
definitely
schedule
easier.
definitely eases up.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Sydney? What do you think?
Maybe I'm just the optimism person, optimistic queen over here. I don't know. I just think you're looking at the bare minimum a 9-3 team. I'm really hoping for 10-2. Like, we know on the stretch their games start to ease up. That is where I actually get more worried about them, because that's where you kind of can get where you can kind of sleep on somebody and you know, then like overlook that opponent, and then it's just, you know, you get tripped up in that. But I think they beat Auburn at home. They've got all the momentum. I think they either lose against SMU or Arizona State. I don't think it's both. They have Arizona State coming here at home, like in Waco. Like, it just makes sense to me. They have all the momentum, all the right pieces. When you look at the quarterbacks between Arizona State and Baylor, Sawyer Robertson and Sam Levitt are the two guys neck and neck. Any poll that you look at, it's either Sam's number 1 or Sawyer number 1. The other one's number 2. Like, they're just right there, back and forth. When it comes to offense last year, Baylor had a better offense, and they've only added more talent than Arizona State. Like, they don't play Texas Tech this year, which I think is good for Baylor, because that's always tricky, especially with the class that the Red Raiders bring
Got
in.
that oil money.
You know it. Lubbock's got something going on.
They got that NIL.
But it just, I don't know. I really think if this isn't the year the Bears want, it's going to really suck because I don't know when they'll be able to do it again. Like, this is the year to do it. Right now, you're going to lose so many pieces from this squad this year. But I don't know. I think there's only one person who can really tell us more about what to expect and what we should see from the Bears than the expert on the Baylor Bears himself, Cam Stewart, the host of Locked On Baylor. I sat down with him earlier this week to just kind of see what he has to say about Baylor and how he thinks the season will shape out this year.
All right, Cam Stewart, host of Locked On Baylor, joining us now today. Cam, I get to join your show every Wednesday. We're going to switch roles here. I get to be in the host seat today. Hope you're prepared. I'm going to take it easy on you. But
Intimidating.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love talking Baylor football any way we can, even if it's not Wicker Wednesday. We can manage and still talk about the Bears a little bit.
Of course. So we're going to do this a Cam Friday. That doesn't flow as good as Wicker Wednesday, but we're going to work.
It'll work. It'll work.
All right, Cam, for those who don't know, Cam is a Baylor alum, so you've got a little bit of fan ties. Sometimes we see those bleed on Locked On, but you can't help yourself. We love it. That's part of your charm. How excited are you as a fan for the anticipation of this upcoming season?
Oof. This is honestly probably the most excited I've been about a Baylor team in almost a decade. We look at the two best teams of like recent memory, 2019 and 2021. They both kind of came out of nowhere to be 11 teams, 12-win team in 2021. Neither of those teams were ranked to start the season. So I guess you could talk about 22. They were ranked number 10, but I think there were even more holes in that team we just didn't see yet than there were in the anticipation of this team. So I'm really excited to see them take the field. It reminds me of the Baylor that I kind of became attracted to as a prospective student, now an alum and a diehard fan. Is they're built on a great offense with the best quarterback they've had in a decade, and they have so much returning talent. This is as excited as I've been about a Baylor team in probably almost 10 years here.
I want to talk a little bit about the expectation. It feels like there's been so many times where Baylor's been expected to do this. They're hoping to see them do this. It feels so good. But then there's so many times when disappointment ends up hitting. Are you worried about that at all with this team? Or, I mean, as a Baylor fan, is that something that always stays in the back of your mind?
Of course I am. Of course I'm worried. I have the Baylor degree to prove it. Why I'm worried. But I think of the term or the phrase, comparison is the thief of joy. For Baylor, it's really expectations are the thief of joy for most of their history. And really after the Art Briles firing, we've had a lot of expectations that don't quite live up to it. But, as I mentioned, 2019 and 21 were great seasons, mainly because they didn't have expectations going into it. So, yeah, I mean, I'm always worried. It's the difference between, some of these big SEC or Big Ten teams when they have these kinds of expectations. They go 11-1 or 12-0. When Baylor does it, it's still tough for a team like that to win 10 games. So I'm worried because this is a really tough conference to pick. And there's, I think, 4 or 5 teams that can win it. And there's so many teams that can go one way or the other. But, of course, there's still a little bit of that in the back of my mind. That just comes with being a Baylor fan and seeing some really good teams falter when it's mattered the most. But I'm letting the excitement overtake that worry this year, Sydney. I'm letting the excitement kind of take me into this first week.
You have to enjoy it sometimes, right? Yeah. Embrace it.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions, man. Like this offense is great. This defense does have a ton of question marks on it. And, it could rear its ugly head week 1, kind of hoping that a couple of question marks turn into exclamation points on the defensive side of the ball, but you can't always just bank on that. So yeah, there's definitely some questions, but we're rolling with how great this offense looks and letting the vibe stay high.
There's no disappointment in preseason, right? Like we're just
every
all
team wins the
vibe.
preseason. Every team is defeated right now. I'm loving it.
Just for you thinking about this offense, it's something we've talked about a lot on Locked On Baylor. Sawyer Robertson, gosh, the guy is just so good with all the talent between the running backs, the wide receivers. Like this offense is going to be fun to watch. They were fun to watch last season, especially in the second half of the season. For you, what are you excited about the most? What do you think we're going to see most from that offense? Are you looking forward to the tight ends, wide receivers, running backs? Like, which room do you think we're going to see shine the most?
Can I pick all of them? Is that cheating? Yeah, I'm really excited about all of them, but to kind of hone in, like obviously Sawyer Robertson, if Sawyer Robertson takes the next step where he was last year, then you're talking about a bona fide Heisman candidate. I know a lot of fans around the country think that's crazy, but like if he does take a step up from where he was last year, we're talking about a top 10, top 5 quarterback in college football, if that's a step up. But what I'm really looking forward to is at tight end, Michael Trigg, a guy who really came on towards the back half of last year, kind of as everyone else did, but he had some issues, right? It was his third college football team. He was suspended for game early in the season. We didn't know kind of like, has Michael figured it out here? Is this going to be the safe landing spot that it should be for him? And it definitely did look that way at the end of the season. And if he continues on that momentum that he had at the end of 2024, we're going to be talking about hearing his name called in the 26th NFL draft. That position in particular, and maybe kind of like third, fourth, fifth guys at wide receiver. There's just a bevy of talent at that position. And, you know, we've seen the top 2 or 3 guys, just specifically Josh Cameron and Ashton Hawkins. But Dave Aranda really raved about how deep this room is, including some of the transfers he's brought in, Cole Wilson, Lewis Brown IV from Colorado State. There's a lot of talent outside those top 2 receivers. So that's the room that I'm looking at in particular. When Baylor has had its best offenses of all time, it's because they've had 4 or 5 receivers they could throw at you that you couldn't cover. And that's what it's starting to feel like with that room in particular. Love what Dallas Baker has done with that wide receiver unit in the past. And I know he's been gung-ho about getting those kind of mid-2010s offenses back in here. As much as the quarterback is important, as great as the running back room is, team, even without Dawson Pendergrass, it's those wide receivers that kind of make or break the great Baylor offenses that we've seen. So I'm excited to see the depth of that room.
Yeah, we talked about that on this week's episode of Locked on Baylor. There's just so much talent that stands out there. I know even in like back in spring ball, we talked about guys we were excited to see just then. And, you know, of course, you got the Alabama guy, Kobe Prentice. Like there's so many fun pieces to this offense, and it just seems to keep getting better and better. I love how all of the guys talk about Jake Spavital and his offense. Just what do you think we're going to see from Spavital's offense this year? Because I think he's ready to crank it up another notch.
I'd have to agree. As good as the offense was last year, I do think there's another level for it to get to. I think people kind of downplay this a little bit. Like Jake Spavital is one of the best offensive coordinators in America. You know, I've kind of had a back and forth with Zach Blackerby, the Locked on Auburn host, and we've kind of made it a bit of a meme at this point, top 10 offensive coordinator, because I say it so much. But it's, and you look at the offense he's cultivated, the offenses has cultivated in the past, in this conference in particular, and the record speaks for itself. The resume speaks for itself. And I think, you know, it's even more impressive with the step took last year when you consider the fact that Sawyer Robertson was not the starter last year in fall camp. He lost the starting job, the QB battle. You know, Michael Trigg wasn't necessarily tight end number 1. Josh Cameron was not wide receiver number 1. And Bryson Washington was not running back number 1. And they put that together in the middle of the season. And their offensive line came together in the middle of the season. Now you've got your unit throughout fall camp, through spring ball, before that, even with how you're looking at the portal. You have had that offensive line unit mostly intact. You have had your quarterback in place, your number 1 receiver, your top 2 backs in place. And to think of a guy with that kind of mind that Jake Spavital has and all those extra months work, there's absolutely another level this offense can take it to. Even at number 2 in points per game in the Big 12 last year, at just about 34 points per game, it's not crazy to think they can take that up by another score, which makes them one of the best offenses in the country.
I think a lot of that, too, has to go with how much growth we saw from Sawyer. When's the last time you felt hype and excitement like this for a Baylor quarterback?
it's got to be 10 years. It's got to be Seth Russell. And there were some questions on Seth over, taking over for Bryce Petty. But it's got to be that long. And I guess you could throw Jarrett Stidham in the mix from 10 years ago as well. But, Charlie Brewer, I think, gets a lot of flack for the ending of his time at Baylor. But he was a very good quarterback in his prime years at Baylor in 2018 and 2019. And there was certainly something about him. But I mean, this is a throwback kind of quarterback that we're talking about in Baylor terms. This is a guy, Sawyer Robertson, who could have been an absolute star for Art Briles, and he will be a star for Jake Spavital. So, yeah, I got to go back to probably Seth Russell and that freakish athletic ability and how far he could chuck a football to go back and think of a season where we were going into a year with a legit top 10, top 15 quarterback in college football. So, yeah, we're going back a ways. I was a young buck back then, Sydney. I was living in dorms back then, no beard, full head of hair. It was crazy times back then.
See, this is when you say something like that, and I put up an old photo of freshman Cam right here so everybody can have the glory of that.
Oh,
We'll spare the
no.
audience today.
Please, please.
Well, Cam, going back to what we talked about just with Michael Trigg, so many fun pieces. Michael Trigg is a guy that Dave Aranda kind of says is a little bit of a sleeper. He thinks a lot of people haven't talked about Michael Trigg in the way that he thinks. So my question to you is, who's your underdog that you're hoping to see step up this season for the Bears?
Oh, man, that's a tough one, Sydney. Certainly Michael Trigg would be on that list. And not that people don't know about him entirely, but I think there's level for him to reach this year that he will reach this year. But in terms of the offensive side of the ball, my sleeper guy is probably Caden Knighton. He's a name that you're going to start to hear more and more now because he'll probably be taking the carries that Dawson Pendergrass would have had at the running back position. True freshman. He's been compared to Cam Scadaboo by some of his teammates in fall camp, which is no small compliment. Truly, what we saw what Scadaboo could do last year. But he's big for a freshman. He can bounce off hits. He's got some good speed. He didn't get necessarily the hype as a recruit that he probably should have because he committed to Baylor so early in the process. And he was playing in Oklahoma and not in Texas high school football. So it's a little bit different. He's a guy I thought would be a huge piece for them in a year or two, but now that's been accelerated to now. So on the offensive side, I think that's a guy that you need to keep an eye on that could be being slept on. And for the defensive side, I've gone with this name a lot, but I am going to go with Travion Barnes, the linebacker they brought in from FU, was the Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year. He comes in with a resume much like Keaton Thomas came in with last year. But Keaton Thomas was a JUCO transfer who had played at West Virginia beforehand. Guy was like, well, who is this guy? Nobody knows. What's this level of competition? All we know is he made a ton of tackles. Same thing with Travion Barnes. And Thomas came in and was an all Big 12 player last year, and now he's leading that unit. Who better to bring along the next Keaton Thomas than the current Keaton Thomas, right? So I think Travion Barnes alongside Thomas can be a huge part of that defense. There are some guys who I think the best is yet to come, like guys like Caden Jenkins, guys like Jack Marshall. But in terms of someone the Baylor fans haven't heard about yet that is going to be taken over on that defensive side, I'm going with Travion Barnes defensively, Caden Knighton offensively.
Of course, week 1, the game we've all had circled on our calendars for quite some time now. I know I'm excited about it. I know you can't wait to see how it all unfolds. Sawyer Robertson called that game a game that will set the standard for the season. Do you agree with that statement? And how big is a win in week 1 for the Bears?
I absolutely agree with Sawyer's statement. It is one of those, especially in college football, where your confidence can get shot if you lose that, and it can shoot through the roof if you win it. This is super important. Auburn is a talented team. They haven't had a winning season in 6 years, but this is a talented roster that they have right now. And I think there's a statement that can be made in week 1 of like, yep, everyone's going to look and see, some of the recruiting talent that they have, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to see that it's Auburn, and they're going to see the SEC patch on their jersey. And they're going to look at us and see Baylor, soft offense, Big 12, couldn't beat an SEC team last year, didn't face any good defenses. And that's what people are going to say. And if Baylor does what I think they should do and win week 1 against Auburn, the sky is the limit. Because then you're talking about a college football playoff team from last year in SMU that's not as good talent-wise as they were last year. You've got an intimidating opponent in Arizona State coming in a couple weeks later, but that's a home game as well. Kansas State, maybe the toughest team on your schedule. That's a home game as well. And so if you win in week 1, Sydney, if you win in week 1, it's probably going to be because you have a great atmosphere behind you and you're a really good football team. So you put those two things together, there's all kinds of confidence for Baylor when it comes to their biggest games on the schedule. So yeah, it's more than just a week 1 non-conference, because technically it shouldn't count for much of anything, but it is going to count for a lot inside that locker room and how everyone's going to be looking at this Baylor team for the rest of the 2025 season.
I agree too. I think when he said that, we all were thinking the same thing. Like it was kind of the elephant in the room that needed to be said. And going back to the Texas Bowl, thinking about how the Bears let that one slip against LSU, they competed against LSU for quite a while in that game. I think there's a lot of learning lessons, and it feels like the Bears are really being outed in this one from a lot of SEC fans and a lot of Auburn fans too. But I know we can't wait to see what happens when the lights go on in McLean Stadium for week 1. Cam, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you as always. If there's anybody on here who is not liking and subscribing the Locked On podcast yet, that just feels like a crime. But we tell them how they should do that, why it's important, and other ways they should follow you to keep up with more Baylor news.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, so we do it every weekday and post game for Baylor football, so that's coming up. We do it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts at Locked On Baylor, at Locked On Baylor on Twitter/X. Well, if you're willing to get into the mud with us and have some fun with it, be there too. But we're so close to 4,000 subscribers, so we need your help. We're the only ones that are doing it, nothing but Baylor, every single day. That's not part of the university. It's the folks like Sydney and then us here at Locked On Baylor. And of course, you can catch Sydney there every Wednesday.
Yeah, I was like, if you're not watching Wicker Wednesday on Locked On Baylor, come on.
What are you doing if you're not doing that?
All right, Cam, we appreciate you so much. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right, Cam, thank you for your insight on Baylor. And maybe I'm feeling a little bit worse now about my 7-5 prediction, and I'm sure you guys are happy with that. But that's all the time that we have for Baylor. We're going to transfer over into SEC country and talk about the Aggies after this quick break. We'll be right back. Stick with us on Countdown to Kickoff. All right, guys, we are back here on Countdown to Kickoff. Heading over to Aggie Land, and let's just jump right in. Mike Elko, year 2. There's some expectations here with A&M for sure. What is one improvement that you guys want to see from Coach Elko going into year 2, Madison?
I think going into year 2, you now have obviously 1 year under your belt. You know what works and what doesn't work. So now coach is definitely feeling a bit more comfortable. You get all of the kinks out. So it seemed like the main focus in the offseason was honestly academics and just getting the players in line off of the field. This was the first time in a while that the team actually achieved over 3.0 GPA. So that's awesome to see. He just really wanted to get them, if you're going to be successful off the field, then that's going to translate onto the field.
Yeah.
And I think that was like a great momentum builder for them. And I'm really excited to see what changes they're going to make because they, like I said, they already got the kinks out, what works and what doesn't work. They have a bit of a lighter schedule this year. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm excited to see what the Aggies are capable of for this season. And they actually got a preseason coach rank, and they were ranked at number 21, and that's my lucky number. So all I have to say is that they're going to have a good season. What do you think, Sydney?
Yeah, well, 21 in the coaches poll, 19 AP top 25 poll, which is huge. But love that that's your lucky number. Like, let's bring on the luck. I agree with what you said, Madison. The slate isn't clean anymore. They come in with something that they've built on, and in Elko's first year, to have the year that they had was good, but it wasn't good enough. If you're going to play SEC, it has to be pure perfection almost every single week, week in and week. I've been watching the Any Given Saturday SEC documentary on Netflix, and it's just, that is so clear. You see the pressure all the time in that documentary, and it just lives up to the hype. I think Temple native and a guy who's dominated for the Aggies, Torian York, so special. I think we're going to see another big year from him, and that's so needed, especially when you think about the turning point the defense needed to make. That's the biggest change we need to see from A&M. Coach Elko, he's known for having really solid defenses. Last year was like the first time everybody was like, is this an Elko style defense? It didn't seem like that. So, and literally after the Las Vegas Bowl, Coach Elko sat there and said, the best thing about this game being over is I'll never have to watch a defense play like that again. And it won't happen. And he was so serious about it. So I think the biggest changes they need to make is on defense. Of course, Marcel Reed looks so good. That offense is going to be so good. They've got so much talent outside. And I think, too, just with what they bring offensively, I think we're going to see a little bit more usage of the tight ends. We saw that a little bit in spring ball, and that made me really excited. As a Big Ten girly, of course we love to see the usage of the tight ends. Like, that's just like Big Ten country staple right there. So can't wait to see what they do. But I think the biggest thing that this team is so tired of hearing of is the 8-4 season, the almost so close. They were almost there. They almost did this. They come into this year with something to prove. Last year they were on the brink of history. If they made it to that title game, it would have been the first time ever since joining the SEC conference. And, after a stumble down the stretch and what we're calling the almost Aggies season, that narrative was born. But this team is ready to put that in the past and turn the page. The Aggies were the talk of the SEC last November. At one point, the undefeated team in the conference. They looked destined for a title run. But with losses to South Carolina, Auburn, and then, of course, rival Texas, that shut the door for them, leaving Aggie fans wondering what could have been.
Last year at this time, I would have stood on this podium and told you we're going to be first place in the SEC going in November and not finish the job, and everyone's going to be disappointed about it. You would have been like, well, there's no way you'll be the last undefeated team in the SEC. And so, we got to go play. That's what we got to go do.
I kind of put it behind us, but it's definitely, I feel like a good starting point for, the team. Just like I've said, we have a year under this offense now, and it's going to look a lot different than it did last year for sure. The dynamic and how we want to do things and, who we're putting out on the field. And, we have all types of playmakers from the running back room, O-line to receivers and tight ends. So, it's going to be definitely really exciting just to be able to see the growth that we have tried to put in over this offseason with this kind of foundation we built from last year.
The message this year, stop talking about almost. Start proving it on the field. And with key players back from injury, this group says they're stronger than ever.
Everybody says this, right? And so I don't want to be cliche, but we're a faster, stronger team. Now we got to go play football, and we got to play football well.
Expectations are there, but the Aggies insist the only thing that matters is performance.
Honestly, I don't care. I mean, if the expectations are there, we've got to go out and perform. If we're flying under the radar, we got to go out and perform. Like I know what this team's capable of.
The focus stays simple.
It's about make plays, make it undeniable.
From almost Aggies to title contenders, Texas A&M hopes 2025 is a year they finally finish the job.
Well, I am now a lot more hyped for A&M than I was before watching that. Let's get right into our record predictions, though. I'm gonna start here, and look, we just saw the almost Aggies, but I do think they're gonna go 8-4, and it's something that they have to break. It's something they have to break, and until they can prove to me that they can be better than 8-4. I can't presume that they're gonna be better than 8-4.
What better season to prove it than this year?
Yes, and they do have some things going for them. I will say, unlike Baylor, their schedule is a lot more favorable. Mm-hmm. They miss Bama, they miss Georgia, so that is a good thing. They miss Ole Miss as well, but still, it's the SEC. You got teams like Florida. You play LSU at LSU, and then you have all these other teams that could be any given week, kind of like South Carolina. Where those games feel like a coin flip. So I'm keeping it realistic like I did for Baylor, 8-4 Aggies.
That's not fun, Ethan. You gotta live on the edge.
Well, the thing is someone has to be someone has to be realistic so that you guys can have fun. How about that? And I see Madison over here. I think she's going a little fun with her prediction. Madison?
I am. I would have to disagree with Ethan. Like we said earlier, they do have a lighter schedule this season, so I think it's a perfect time for them to capitalize, right? We're going into our second year with this coach. You have a lighter schedule. This is your time to see what works and what doesn't. So I think I'm going to go with 10-2, 10-2 or 9-3, right there. I'm still undecided. I do think we all know Texas and Texas A&M, that's the last game of the season, always a huge rival, and it's at Texas this year. So I think that's going to be a loss. I mean, Texas is preseason number 1. They had a great season last year, so that's going to be a loss. I also think Notre Dame is going to be a loss. I don't think Notre Dame is going to be as strong as they were last year where, they finished in the Final Four, but I think those are going to be the two losses for sure. I mean, there's probably one other game in there that could be a toss-up. I know we've all talked about the Florida game being a toss-up as well. Yeah. So we'll just have to see, but I really think it's going to be above 500. I think they have a lot of potential. Auburn game could also be another tricky one, but I think towards the end of the season, too, they're going to go on a little bit of a win streak. You got Mizzou, South Carolina, Samford. Those are 3 wins right there. But LSU could also be another tough one. I don't know. I would really like to see the Aggies just capitalize this season. I really just want Baylor and A&M to do so well, and I'm hoping. What are your predictions, Sydney?
Well, I just think there's so many parallels between Baylor and A&M this season. They have so many similarities between the two of them, but I agree with you, Madison. I'm going with the same thing I said for Baylor. I think you're looking at a 10-2, 9-3 kind of squad. It's hard because the SEC is so trippy, and you never know which week's gonna get you, but you got to be ready each week. But it's so hard to say, you want a 9-3 season or a 10-2 season because that's not good enough in the SEC. You need to be perfect. And I don't think the Aggies are going to be perfect this year. I think they're going to be better, though, and I think that would be another step in the right direction for Coach Elko. With all the talent he has, you have to capitalize on this right now. I would hope you get Marcel Reed back for another year next season, but you never know. It all depends on how things shape out this season. So I think they're going to beat Notre Dame. I don't think Notre Dame is this team that we're looking at from last year, so I think that's a win, and they're motivated to get back after the last time they did. That was a close game. It was in Kyle Field, not the way they wanted to start the season. Now you go on the road with every bit of a chip to want to get that win, prove something. When the Aggies need to prove something, they seem to find a way to do it, so I like them in that game. I like them host Auburn. I think that's going to be a get-back game. I like them taking on South Carolina. Really, the only games I don't like are Florida and Texas. DJ Lagway is a guy who scares me at Florida. I don't know what we're going to see from him. Like, he was so up and down last year, but they want to win for Billy Napier so bad at Florida. And, you know, you could see how much, like, Florida as a whole was ready to kick him to her, but those guys found a way to win for him. And they got some big wins, beating Ole Miss. Like, they're just a scary team that you have to prepare for. But I like having them at Kyle Field. I think that gives the Aggies an advantage there for sure. So the only game that I really, really don't like is Texas. And Arkansas always scares me too, because for some reason when the Aggies and Arkansas play, it's always a close game. So yeah, but
yeah, I think the AT&T Stadium effect gives that game a lot of hype as well.
I don't think they're playing at AT&T this year though, Ethan. I think
is that over?
I think it was the last. It's either this year or last year was the last time they were playing there. But yeah, they're ending that and going home and home now.
Okay, well, good for them.
Who likes the Cowboys anyway?
Yeah, that's something we can all get behind. But Sydney, what you mentioned beforehand that I want to kind of piggyback off of is how similar you think Baylor and A&M are, and I think for the first time in a while we can all agree that both these teams are poised for positive seasons and really have a chance to break things open this season. And with Baylor rebuilding the past few years, I know they were good last year, and then with A&M trying to turn this corner from the almost Aggies, this seems like this could be a really special year for both of our Division I college football teams. But we cannot forget about UMHB and Belton, our Division III football team, which we'll talk about more on the other end of this break. But definitely excited for the Aggies this year.
Can't wait.
Stick with us here on Countdown to Kickoff. We're going to talk some UMHB football. We'll be right back. All right, we are back here to talk some UMHB football. We're heading over to Belton, the Crew. They're so fun, man. They are so fun, and I just want to talk. I want to jump right in. Last season, they did get off to a bit of a rough start. They turned things around in November, though, and actually made it all the way to the quarterfinals in Division III last season. So I just want to kind of start by asking you guys, how can UMHB kind of get there sooner this season and not have to pull off some kind of miraculous turnaround come November? Madison?
I mean, no team ever wants to play catch up. That's not the position you want to be in. You would love to start your season off with catching a few dubs, and then maybe you have a loss towards the middle of your schedule, but that wasn't the case for them last season. They started off pretty rough and on the wrong foot, And they definitely were more successful on the defensive side. Defense definitely carried for them last year. And I think one thing that's super important to the team is that they need to figure out what wasn't working on offense. I mean, they went through, numerous quarterbacks trying to figure out, who could lead that offense. And I think if they're able to really figure out what the problem was on offense and match the intensity of the defense, if not top it, they will be a very successful team and be super competitive. And I think they learned that. You went through the few losses early on and then you finally found groove, but no team likes doing that. You want to, figure it out in the beginning and squash it and then run with the rest of the season. So I think if they really could figure out what was wrong on offense and get those kinks out, they will be a super successful team. Sydney, what do you think they have to work on?
I mean, I know it's so funny to say, like, they had a rough season last year. We're just saying, they were 9-4. It wasn't like they had an awful season. That's just not the UMHB standard. Like, they expect to win. They expect to have undefeated seasons, maybe only one loss. One of those losses, of course, coming in the quarterfinals when they lost a close game, which really their offense not being able to spark a lot of touchdowns and momentum was really the key factor in why they couldn't get that win. Two of those losses to the same team, Hardin-Simmons, a team that they beat in the playoffs for the third time that they played each other. So, they're just a group that's like really got it. They just got to put a couple of those extra pieces together. Defense, of course, carried them so much last season. Offense was hot and cold with the quarterbacks. We saw them rotating through different quarterbacks, trying to find an answer. We saw Jake Wright come in the second time that they played Hardin-Simmons and kind of helped lead this turnaround, but it just wasn't enough. That's why there's currently a quarterback battle going on right now in fall camp. And Coach Larry Harmon, who is a winner, knows that they need to compete. He wants to see every position level compete. Like, you're not going to get anything at UMHB. Everything is earned. That's part of Coach Harmon and the style that he is. But for him, when it comes down to last season, it's all about being tough. And he felt like that's what got the guys going in their postseason run.
When you have a setback, it's how you don't overcome that. That's what life's about. It's not about not ever having something bad happen to you. It's about how you don't bow your neck. And, last year's team, I thought, really did a great job of just doing hard better. We had some situations that didn't go our way. We had some injuries that didn't go our way, and things got hard, and they just decided that they were going to do hard better than waiting for it to get easy. And that's really what turned us around.
Yeah, Sydney, just hearing that and trying to have, and again, you mentioned the standard for UMHB, and it's just really good to see that we really have all positive things to say about football across the board, high school, Baylor, A&M, UMHB, and it all starts next week. We are going to be so busy.
Early. We're about to be so tired.
This is like our back to school.
Yeah, this is really our Super Bowl. Like, let's go. We're about to kick it into high gear. Thankfully for us, the Super Bowl isn't 1 week. It lasts for like 3 months.
We've been talking about this for months though. We're just like, football's right around the corner. Yeah, but we have a few months and now we're here. It's here. Next week. Like,
it is here.
It's so crazy to think about.
Yeah, we got Friday Night Lights starting next week, and Baylor plays Auburn on that same Friday. So I'm praying for anyone that has to drive on I-35 through Waco next Friday. We're going to be having to leave here pretty early.
Which, by the way, they're saying leave a couple hours early, so keep that in mind for your travels.
Definitely.
Like, not like 30 extra minutes. Like, get there a couple hours
It's going to be ridiculous out there.
That includes high school. That includes Baylor. And if you're in Waco, be prepared for traffic.
Yes. Maybe find a way around 35 next week. And I just want to kind of end our show off here with a couple announcements. Every Tuesday, starting next Tuesday, we're going to be going live to announce our KCEN Game of the Week. And another special announcement, the winner of each Game of the Week will get their own trophy.
Ethan,
let's get it in here.
There we go.
So some very high stakes for our Game of the Week this year, and this was a KCEN tradition that we're bringing back, Sydney.
Yeah, we haven't done this for about 2 years now, I think, but I know even before I started working here, this is something I always saw, and I loved about KCEN. I think it's so prideful, plus it's so fun. These guys get hyped. I mean, who doesn't get excited about holding something up like that? I really want one of those on my desk. I'm going to steal one of these weeks. We need a bye week so I can have one.
We need a sports team trophy that we get every week. week.
But it's so cool. It's going to be so awesome. And yeah, whoever's out at our game of the week, we always have live coverage out there. We're one of the only stations that continues live coverage at our game of the week. So yeah, we'll have that for every show at 10 o'clock. And our show is going to stay long. We're going to do it all. We're going to have all the highlights. We're going to do everything that we can to bring you the best from across Central Texas, since of course that is some of the best football in the whole state.
Sure. I mean, I saw videos in the past of, you know, game of the week, and not only are you trying to get a dub, but you're trying to get this beautiful KCEN trophy, and the kids get so hyped, so it just gives them a little bit more extra motivation. I'm super excited for this coming football season, and hey, it's my first taste of Central Texas football.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get a good taste of it too, Madison.
Yeah, so we got the game of the week reveal show on Tuesday. We're gonna have KCEN Kickoff, which is gonna be an all-around sports show that'll air on Wednesdays. We of course have our great Friday Night Lights coverage starting every week next Friday. Just a lot planned out of our stream center and just in general here at KCEN.
Ethan, I think the best news about this too is if for some reason you guys like miss it or you can't join us live, you can always watch it on our app.
Exactly.
For free.
The 6
like
Plus app.
This, if you just had so much fun with us, you want to watch it again, like it's on the app.
Download that
so
6
easy.
Plus app.
Coach's Corner, if you missed any of our interviews or you want to relive them, go ahead and watch it again on there. Like that's the best part about this is not only do you get it live, you get it anytime.
Anytime you want, right in the palm of your hand.
Yes,
and I just want to, again, that's kind of all the time we have here, but I want to thank you, Sydney and Madison, for joining me today. This was a ton of fun, and I think it went super well, and it's just, it really is just a taste of what's to come from the streaming center and sports this season. So again, thank you guys for joining
everybody
me.
doesn't see you pushing the buttons back there that I'm like so scared to touch and mess with. So shout out to Ethan. You've done a great job tackling this, just coming in here, working on it, spent so many hours just practicing and making sure this went so smoothly. So hats off to you, Ethan. You did such a great job.
Shout out to the whole...
And Madison literally just got back from vacation and jumped right into the fire.
Yeah,
so
that's more impressive. Let's be honest.
This is literally, from the beginning of when she started, I was like, get ready to jump into the deep end because that's what we'll do all the time.
All the time.
Here we are doing it once again.
But yes, of course, a big thank you to everyone who joined us here today.
Yeah.
We will be back on Tuesday for that game of the week reveal, but until then, that's all the time we got. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. Woo!